Evening, gents. Apologies for my late arrival. I'm with Azza, Drew in a minute. So, and Sammy Smith. Sam's here as well. So, yeah, we're kind of like doing a bit of a joint meeting.
Cool.
Okay. So, missed anything, Luke, or just waiting for people to log in?
Just waiting for people to join, to be honest.
All right.
That makes it one from each team now, I think. Mike said he was going to, he's had to drop out. Family stuff, I think. So he said he might join in a bit later if he can.
Okay, cool.
I suppose we can get going, I suppose. We've got one of each. So first things first, obviously we've got to confirm how we're going to run it next year, rather this year actually, this season, with regards to who's running it and how it's being run. But I think before we get any of that sorted, we should probably look at getting the fixtures and how it's going to be run, what teams are being entered, the format, that sort of thing sorted. So I've got the first thing to go through is the format for the league, i.e. does everyone play everyone home and away, or I assume that's the standard for this year's. Any disagreement with that? Play each other twice home and away?
No, I'm fine with that.
I'm good with that, Luke.
Yeah, cool. Tick, easy. So that's obviously for the main league. There they are. That's obviously for the main league, main West Mids League, but also we've got to think about the developmental league. Now, we discussed it in December, but are we having that as a completely separate league and they play themselves completely independent of the main league, so they'll have their own complete fixtures, or do we play it off the main fixtures list and say, I don't know, Long Eaton at Clifton, do Long Eaton's main team play Clifton's main team, and then on the same day, the Long Eaton's development team play Clifton's development team, or do we just do a whole new fixture list just for the developmental team? Thoughts?
Right, from my point of view, Luke, I would say that for logistics reasons, you play it the same day. So I would say that the minor league team or like the second team mirrors the first team.
That was my thinking, but that was my thinking, but I just thought of this other
travel,
option.
logistics, equipment, and the rest of it. I think that just makes perfect sense, and just go with that. That's Wolverhampton's point of view. As if you,
you just got to make sure you can have the players for both teams. That's all. If there's long travel on the same day.
Sorry, can I just check in here? Are we under the agreement of having two separate leagues? Because Health would prefer two separate leagues.
What? Sorry, they dropped out a little bit
there. Sorry,
yeah,
can you hear me? So we're under the. Sorry, long day. We would prefer to have two separate leagues. So have the development one and then have the main one.
Yeah, so that's
okay.
So that's the idea. You have the main league with sort of the main team, as it were, and then the developmental teams playing in their own developmental league. So if clubs want to put forward a developmental team, then that's fine. But obviously, so some teams, I think Wolverhampton actually might not be putting one forward next year, or this season. So obviously, if say Worcester are playing Wolverhampton, then our developmental team wouldn't have a game that week, sort of thing. So obviously, over the next few weeks or next month or so, it'd just be a case of saying whether or not your team will be putting forward a developmental team. But yeah, two separate leagues to answer your question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Luke, just off the back of that, so for those, so we're gonna do developmental games straight after the main game, as we did last year.
Yeah.
We're still gonna be flexible about players playing on both teams then, or for in both games, other than like pitches and catches like we did?
Yeah, that's
Because
obviously,
obviously, I mean, sort of like if you've got 15 guys on the day and that's all you've got, then you can't field 2 full teams, can you?
yeah. So that's the thing. Like, obviously, I mean, for us, Worcester, we'll have 20 plus guys. I think we'll aim for 25 again this year, and having that development team was fine because we could get 8 or 9 extra available. But yeah, sometimes we'd only have 6 or 7. We'd need some of the main game guys to fill in the developmental game. And I think there might have to be a sort of restriction on positional changes. So say you have got 15 and you've got 6 guys going into the developmental game afterwards, maybe you don't have your 3 best players starting as pitcher, catcher, third base sort of thing.
Yeah.
So whether or not that needs to be written down and signed off, I don't know. I don't know how often that would come into effect each week, but yeah, thoughts really.
You're probably going to end up with a different view with 6 different people, aren't you? But our view has always been very clear. Our preference would be to have a home and away, if you like, first team, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Double headers. You use more of your squad on a game day then. And then because the season is probably going to be starting earlier this year compared to last year, and we could potentially run it as late as we did last year, which would be a longer season than the BBF would normally do. They normally run it sort of April through to end of August, but if we're running sort of April through to mid-September, and broadly there's almost the same number of teams in the league, it's actually easier because it's a even number now, isn't it? So there's no like off week, what that does, it creates a lot of extra weekends where baseball is not being played. So those would be the days where you could then organize development friendlies, and that's what our preference would be. But we also appreciate that everybody has a completely different view, and trying to get any consensus on this is going to be difficult because this has been something that's been kicked around for years. We've had Midlands minor league, we've had AA, single A, BBF, we've had what's been, what was last year, and it just everybody's got a slightly different attitude towards first team games and development games. The way our club is kind of structured is the beginners don't really feel confident to play on the first team, so they would prefer to play their own fixtures on their own day at said location and not be in the shadow of the first team at that location. But that's just our people, so that doesn't mean we're right and people are wrong. It's just that's our unique circumstances. I think Long Eaton are similar.
Okay. So
that way more baseball games would be played this year. If you had double headers, more games of baseball would be played in the league, and then more development games would be played on the off days, and the grand total of number of games played in the year would be a massive increase on what was played last year. Very little.
So like you say, the fingers crossed, touch wood, all that sort of stuff. We should have probably the first normal season since its inception 3 years ago.
And if you've got a team that can't put a development team in, it doesn't affect them then, does it? Because they just get behind the league schedule. And if you've got a club that can go that extra step and put a developmental team out and say there's 8 teams in this league and only 4 can put their name in the hat for developmental fixtures, it makes it dead easy to then organise friendlies.
Yeah, true.
But like I said, I'm not saying I know best or anything like that. It's just that's sort of how we see it. We think it makes a lot of sense, but ultimately it's kind of down for the for the league to agree on what is the right way. And if it ends up being something different to what we've suggested, then we'll support it.
So I did a draft of the fixtures last week with us looking to start on the 24th of April. And ending the regular season on the 28th of August, with then a week off the week after, and then 2 weeks of postseason, so the 11th and 18th of September. So just a quick. So within those fixtures, I've incorporated a few off weeks, 3 weeks, and I've written it down somewhere. 1 sec. So I've put in, there are actually 6 off weeks. So the first one is, so the first one is just a free week, the 15th of May. Obviously that can be moved. I can have fixtures in. I'll show the fixtures list. I was going to try and do it on here, but it's not working for some reason. So I'll share it in the WhatsApp group. But the 5th of June is the spring bank holiday. Probably a lot of people going away, wouldn't be able to get a good chunk of people out on the field. Father's Day on the 19th of June. Every year we put that as an off week because, again, a lot of people aren't available Father's Day. And then same as we've done since the start, I've put in 17th of July as like an all-star break for teams to get together, players to play with one another as opposed to against each other.
We've got Battle of Britain on there as well.
That's the next one, yeah. 14th of August is the Battle for Britain, because he's put down single A/double A standard. So obviously we'd put ourselves in as a good strong double A overall. And then the last break was the 4th of September, which is a week off before postseason, which I suppose we could take away, but I think having a week off to recoup and think tactics might be a good option. So the only one we could really take out, I suppose, and move everything up a week is probably the 15th of May. But the only reason I put 15th of May in was because we play 24th of April, 1st of May, 8th of May. So 3 days, then a break, 2 days, then a break. I just thought having 5 straight weeks at the start of the season might need to be broken up by an off week. I don't know.
But if you got 6, is that 6 off days?
That was 6 in total, yeah.
So if development friendlies were played on those days, then and they were double headers, that's like 12 games. That's a lot of games for a development team. So that could be the case. But I guess you think we can't resolve really what the league format is, can we? We can't say, oh, it'll be double headers or it'll be single headers plus development. And I guess we can't really agree that right now. We can agree the framework of the fixtures, though, which sounds sensible. The fixtures that you've just said sound sensible, and the off weeks sound sensible. There are a lot of them, but it's thought out and it makes sense,
Yeah, precisely. And it's obviously try to limit having off weeks because people want to play baseball. But you don't want to put a fixture on a date that half the team aren't going to be there. So it just doesn't make sense. So I think what's probably best, if I share this fixture list in the WhatsApp group after the meeting. I mean, I think, we've already confirmed that you play home and away. That's fine.
Those fixtures can stay regardless of the format. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to agree the format tonight, do you? Because, but you don't have to. People won't know how many players they've got, whether they're going to have a team or whatever. But what the league game dates are going to be, and whether you do double headers, single headers mixed with development or not, doesn't really matter, does it? We know which locations the games are being played at, and we're only in January now, aren't we? But by the time we get to say February, March, we might have a better idea what format we want to get behind. Do we have to close that off right now? we have to close the format off, or do we just agree that's the fixture list and then the format is TBA? Gives a bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of putting, in terms of clubs putting teams forward, I guess, like you say, it's start of pre-season. People aren't going to know their full squads, so we won't know which club is putting a development team through. And if that is the case, say we do have, say, 6 teams that are putting dev teams through. Yeah, do we agree that we play it after the league game or we play it on the off weeks? I don't know. Like you say, we'll postpone that decision for 6 weeks time, end of February.
It seems like it's potentially one or the other, and we can kind of agree as a collective one way or the other. And again, if we're the only voice in the room that wants to do this and everybody else wants to do that, we're happy to go with the majority.
Cool. Anybody else have any thoughts while I'm just making some notes?
Sorry, Luke, have you thought about the extra bank holiday that's included this year?
Which one's that? There are quite a few, aren't there?
There's the Jubilee, yeah, there's a Jubilee one, I think it's the 15th of May.
Yeah,
that's the June one, isn't it?
No, there's one in May as well.
So the 15th of May is an off week, I've put down.
Yeah, okay.
I think probably for that reason. I can't remember. It was a week ago. Like I say, I'll share the fixtures list on the WhatsApp chat. Just on the
bank holidays, just so you know, Easter Monday and Good Friday, 15th and 18th of April. Then you've got your normal May Day, which is Monday, the 2nd of May. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the Jubilee is, they've got rid of the bank holiday Monday in May at the end, and they've replaced it with a Thursday and Friday of that week. So Thursday the 2nd and Friday the 3rd.
Yeah, so people might.
There's nothing going on in the middle of May to do with Jubilee. It's at the beginning of June. That's on.
Cool. So on to, if I can find it, postseason wise. So I sort of came up with three options. In fact, what's probably best actually is save discussing it, because obviously I've just got it all written down in front of me.
Luke,
yo,
sorry to just interrupt it.
Go for it.
So far, I think great, articulating what we're gonna be doing next year. But I just think that when we're thinking about what we're going to do next year, can we just have a quick consensus? So as we're going through this meeting, if you just say, what do we think about that? And we just tally stuff. So we'll have what guys are totally down for double headers and stuff. So as we draw things together, we've got something on paper that we can look back and say, we got 5 teams want this, 3 teams want that. That's just a side note, just an observation.
Okay.
From my point of view, Hampton, I've just said to as at Stourbridge, double headers necessarily aren't our preferred route, but I would say that we've had a number of people that would prefer them. So in the past, we've ruled them out. But I think next year we could probably go with the double header thing. I support what Matt said. I like the idea of having those developmental days completely separate. I like what Matt said in the fact that it becomes less in the shadow of the first team as well. So what Matt said, I'm quite in support of, really. But can we just, at the end of this meeting, can we just have some feedback from you? You've kind of tallied this up, so you can kind of present it back to us, please.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Okay. So on that, we'll go back to the start then. Welcome to me and everybody.
Got a lolly stick for my little tally card here.
Yeah, there you go. So just on the basis of that format for the league, everyone plays everybody home and away, thumbs up, arms raised, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Sure.
Just call people from Wolverhampton and play home and away. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. See some hands. Cool. Is that everybody? Random thumb. Cool. In favour.
Robert
Nice.
said in favour.
Unanimous. Whee. Cool. So then the next one was, so we'll get some dates. So opening day, 24th of April, 2022. Are we putting that down as opening day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolverhampton, happy with that.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Telford. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Good suggestion, this, Sean.
Okay. So I'll leave out sort of the like end of season date and postseason stuff, because it will look better if you guys are looking at the document, the Excel sheet as well. That's probably better, because we might, like you say, yeah.
Format of no, Luke.
Oh, sorry, mate.
We can generally discuss the format of the postseason.
Yeah,
without looking up.
I mean, okay, I'll cycle through what I've written down. There were sort of three. I wrote down 3 different formats, just for different options. The obvious one, I guess, is top 4 progress to a postseason. 3rd plays first at first's home ground. 4th plays second at second's home ground, and then the winner of each play each other for 1st and 2nd, and the losers of each play each other for 3rd and 4th the following week. And then obviously 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th come from that. The other option is all 8 teams progress to the postseason, so everybody gets to play postseason baseball. So you have 3rd at 1st, 4th at 2nd, 7th at 5th, 8th at 6th. Obviously, the top half will have chance to place 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, and the bottom half will have chance to place 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And it's basically the same fixtures, basically the same format. The winner of 3rd and 1st plays the winner of 4th at 2nd, and then etc. Then the 3rd option was top 6 teams progress, a little bit more complicated. 3rd at 1st, 4th at 2nd, 6th at 5th, and then in like a round robin style, you play each other the following week, which is a bit slap.
Right. Wolverhampton would go 2, where everybody's involved.
All 8
Yeah.
teams.
Option 2 for me
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So
What was that as?
Stourbridge option 2.
That's cool.
Oh,
I would favour top 4.
Top 4.
I probably add 1st v 4th and 2nd v 3rd, but that's granular, isn't it? And then whether you do that over 1 or 2 weeks, you probably do it over.
I mean, yeah, because
you could do it. You could
still have
do it on one weekend, or you do it over 2 Sundays or whatever. It don't really matter. I mean, the other thing you could potentially do, and again, it's always left field options. You could say top 4 go for championship, and then the bottom 4 do their own final 4 for a shield or something. It's not obviously it's not the league champions, but it's like a kind of minor shield or something like that.
Yeah,
and then everybody's jockeying for something during the season, because the disadvantage of top 4 is if you're in 8th, it's like we're not going to get to 4th, so that keeps the season alive then, doesn't it?
So you could just
for everybody.
Instead of saying all 8 teams go to postseason, you could be like top 4 go to postseason, bottom 4 go to
for the championship, and the bottom 4 go for a shield or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
minor league shield or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
Banding of should be that the bottom 4 would be separate from the top. So
yeah,
so list it differently, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose you got to think of it as like, if there is going to be 2 weekends of baseball in September, the more teams that you can have involved with that, and it's more baseball opportunities for all the teams, then, isn't it? But
I agree with you.
You want to avoid a situation where 8 play 1 in the quarterfinal or whatever. It's
Yeah.
I think what was probably lost in like communication was that cut off between 1 to 4, 4 to 8.
there you go.
Like I agree that all teams should be involved right to the last game of the season. But yeah, if you finished 8th, there should be no chance of you actually taking the championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Merp,
It's split them off into 2 groups then. That'd be good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fine.
cool.
Double A, single A.
Yeah.
I guess so. I suppose you could list it as that, couldn't you? Yeah.
This is probably right when you think of the quality of the
It
baseball.
probably
in the
is, yeah.
division. I don't think we're a single A overall, are we?
No. Cool.
No, I don't.
So the other guys have thoughts on that. Sure. So Rob's just agreeing with us as well, saying, yeah, Sean's proposal sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy
Yeah,
with
that's fine from us.
yeah,
Cool.
happy
Sorry.
with option 2. Yeah.
Okay, that's solved. Sweet. Cracking on through. Right, that's pretty much the fixtures sort of sorted. Like I say, I'll share that document in the WhatsApp chat afterwards. Next is league fee for this coming year. So it's always been 150 a season. Question is, do we, in fact, thinking about it, we can probably link Sports Engine into this, because so Sports Engine this year, I emailed yesterday, I think, just as a sort of catch up and to ask them sort of what the deal is with renewing and what have you. And they got back to me. Let me just load the email up. Because I think it renews in March, the start of March. So he said it would be 7. So obviously, when we got it last year, we got 2 months free because of COVID and their promo or whatever they were doing. So this year it's the normal fee, which is $749 US, which is roughly £552. So, question is, do we go ahead and use Sports Engine again for next year? And that's sort of coupled in with what do we set the season fee at again? Because currently it's obviously 150. So, thoughts on that, really? What are your guys' thoughts on Sports Engine?
Well, I guess what's the breakdown of what the fees for each team goes to? Because obviously you don't want to then say, yeah, it'll be fine, and then down the road be like, oh, now we're short for money for stuff.
I think at this moment in time, we need to be thinking about like where we put the money. So currently, I should have had the figures at hand, but I know for a fact that the league account is in a good position right now. So what we need to be thinking about is like where we utilize that money to best enhance the league. So in terms of like Sports Engine, we can totally afford it even without this year's fees coming in. I think what Luke's probably thinking about, and the rest of us are thinking about, is did we feel that was good use of our money last year?
Was a good value.
Good value.
And whether
that's precisely it. I think if everybody used it wholeheartedly and used it to its full potential, I think it's well worth the money. But it's just a case of getting everybody on board and using it correctly and using iScore to integrate with Sports Engine, because that's another big bonus. It's partly one of the reasons why using Sports Engine works is because you use iScore, you score on the game, you press complete game, you press a button that says synchronize, and about 60 seconds later, all the stats and everything gets uploaded to Sports Engine, and it's easy as that. And I think if every game and every club had used it correctly, 100% worth it. So personally, I would do it again.
Wolverhampton, but we've had frustrations. I've had frustrations with my own club when I was not present at the game and they decide to score it on paper, which causes a problem. We've had frustrations with other clubs not using it too. I think it's just generally one of those things where, in order to get the most out of it, we need everybody to be on board with this. And in terms of like the chairman, as like the leaders of our clubs, we need to make we've got enough players and staff that they can just pick up the iPad or pick up the phone and score it. From my point of view, I said to Azza earlier on, I just think that a nominal penalty for not uploading your stats by 9 or 10 p.m. on a Monday should be enforced. Like, it's not that difficult if people are, on board with it. That's our point of view. Others may have different. Azza's got a suggestion.
If the league pay for it this year,
If the league pay for it this year,
yeah, and clubs don't adhere to it,
and the clubs don't adhere to it,
then the club get charged their portion for the
and then
sports engine subscription.
so then like
Be prorated down.
oh, so there you go. So like what he's basically saying, the league will pay for that this year, but then if you're, the penalty money effectively then gets put back onto the clubs. So it's, the clubs are not going to be paid for it this year, but if you're not using it appropriately, then you will be charged for it. If you like to think.
Yeah. So the 552 divided by 8 clubs would be 69 quid each, which is a bargain, really, I think.
Yes.
And like you say, I think it could be a case of sort of if say stats aren't up by Monday night sometime, first time is like, all right, warning, like don't do it again next time.
You pay 70.
You pay 70 quid, I think, because I think you're right. There does need to be some sort of repercussion for not utilising it, because there were too many times this season where they just weren't uploaded or they weren't done properly. I mean, you can import them manually if it wasn't scored properly, which I believe Birmingham did it a few times because he scored on paper quite a few times.
Yeah, obviously I'm the new chairman, so I'll hold my hands up for last year, but I didn't even know iScore was a thing until halfway through the season. And I think that was something, not to put Pete down, but it was kind of on Pete because he said, oh, they've been chatting about this iScore thing or whatever, and then he never actually implemented it. So we didn't even know it was a thing till halfway through the season. But this year we'll definitely sit down with a group of guys and train everybody how to use it properly. So then at least we all know what we're doing.
Yeah, so sorry, go on, Matt.
It's interesting because we're kind of going through the same teething problems with iScore that the BBF had gone through. It's just, for me, it's like history repeating itself, albeit in a smaller number of teams. And we had this at the BBF where Liverpool Trojans were going to be excluded from the playoffs because it was mandated that, you had to do iScore and you had to put your stats on and all the rest of it. And basically it got overturned because they sort of said, look, we've been so short of players, we 70 game days, we only turned up with 9 players. So how could we score the game, And, what would you rather us do? Forfeit the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Kevin McCann got involved, and then, next thing you know, independent leagues got set up and, it all goes off into the Wild West, doesn't it? So we're only kind of going through the same thing again. And I know in Leicester, there were days where, we struggled to get 9 out, and on those days, it's a bit tricky to score the game. And then if you turn up and the other team has only got 9, then who's going to do it, So, or you might turn up with 10 and then the other guy's the umpire or what have you. So I think it's utopia would be that every club has a designated scorer and they score both teams, so it's consistent. So if they're the home team, they've got the score and they score both teams. I just think the minute we start getting into mandating and things like that, it's going to end up being like it was with Liverpool a few years ago. It's hard. I'm not saying scoring's hard. I'm not saying iScore is hard or whatever, but it's just some Sundays things don't go well, and sometimes you're lucky that the actual game goes ahead sometimes,
I think
all that kind of last minute twisting of arms on a Saturday night to get a team out on the field, you know.
I think it's one thing having obviously 9v9 or 10v10, then you're sort of limited to, because obviously you need an umpire. That's you need an umpire to run the game. But say worst comes to worst, you have 10v9, so you've got that 10th person being the umpire, and you've got 9v9. It's easy enough just to, because like I say, you can manually put the scores and stats into iScore, just to have a piece of paper on the side. And when, say, you've got first inning, you got top 1, 2, 3, have batters 8 and 9, just noting down sort of got to first or strike out, or just very, very basic stats. Because it's easy enough to, at the end of the game, say they won 7-4 or what have you. But if we're trying to create a good image, like you say, ideally, Euphoria, everything would be perfect. It'd be scored perfectly every single week. That's not going to happen. And everybody has perfect stats. That's not going to happen. But we need to do it as best as possible. And I think
I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. Because when I was on the BBF, we implemented Engine and we implemented iScore, and then Game Changer came along and you could actually use Game Changer for a while, and then Game Changer stopped supporting Sport Engine, or the other way around, and then it's back to iScore again. And I found Game Changer easier to use.
Game Changer is definitely more user friendly.
Yeah, but that's kind of gone now. But I think what happened before electronic scoring was everybody kind of used scorebooks, and then when the electronic e-scoring came along, people kind of stopped learning to score by paper, and then all of a sudden there's no phone or iPad floating around with iScore on, and we're writing down notes on pieces of paper which you could have quite easily put into a scorebook. But yeah, if there was a perfect answer to it, we would have found it.
So I think
ago, but I think this will always happen, because it's always has. It's like why all the stats and everything collapsed on the BBF website, didn't it? And people just stopped scoring games and stats disappeared.
I think for now we can agree or not agree whether or not we use Sports Engine.
Because I mean, the thing is, you can still do a manual upload.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's always a fail-safe. So are people keen for us to use Sports Engine again with the league? Obviously,
what does the cost work out per team? If you divided the US dollars by 8 teams, what does that come to?
£69.
So about half of our fee is just the website, yeah.
Yeah, and everything involved within that, yeah.
Yeah, but what we're saying, Matt, is we're saying that for this year, the fee will be paid for with the money that's already spent.
Oh, because there's a reserve, right?
Yeah. So we've got reserve money, so that'll be paid for out what we've currently got accrued in the league. And then the only thing would be that if you're not using it appropriately, or then you bill or the 69 quid. From our point of view, we loved it at Wolves. We had a bit of a problem midway through the year when I wasn't there for a game, and I come back and somebody scored it on badly, at which point then they said, well, can you get all the stats and upload it? I was like, personally, I don't have the time to do that. It's probably a 3-hour job. And then thereafter, they're asking why stats weren't uploaded. Is because that one game then changes everything. So there's no point putting up the rest of the stats, because doesn't that one missed game will then skew all the stats. There's no point. As soon as you miss one game that's not been uploaded, the rest of the stats are just worthless. So that's why Wolverhampton, we had good statistics, probably maybe half of our games. We missed a game, and then we kind of fell off the radar in that respect, which,
should there be a vote on financial penalties for not uploading stats then? That's what somebody said.
I mean, I think first off, we need to agree or not agree about using Sports Engine. So we'll do a quick yes or no. So agree to use Sports Engine and
Absolutely, from Wolverhampton.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
we've got a decent alternative on the table. So
Yeah.
continue.
So I think. Okay. Cool. So then I suppose the next one would be, do we impose some sort, maybe not, don't nail down what the financial penalty is, but
Right.
a
But do we
financial
support
penalty.
the idea of,
Yeah. So whether or not we should implement some sort of fine for people or clubs, sorry, not uploading their stats in a timely matter, i.e., either the Monday night, Tuesday lunchtime, that sort of thing.
I think Luke, for me,
say again, mate. Sorry.
Monday 10 p.m. I think is good for me.
So you would support a financial penalty if they were not uploaded?
I mean, not necessarily saying like the financial penalty has to be like direct to the league, but you could be.
There needs to be ramifications for not doing it, basically.
Yeah, that penalty could be like it could be paid to a charity. If you don't want to like kind of like put it back into the league, we could put it into a charity which we can probably link the league to. So like, I don't know, homelessness or whatever, but that penalty should be paid and somebody's benefiting from it. So that's just, because what we don't see that we're throwing money back into the league and that money is just sat in a pool. That's like one of the frustrations I've got, is that we've got money surplus in the league that's not being utilised. Why not make that? It could be sadly like a PR thing as well. We support homelessness or something as well. And like people will probably happily pay for that penalty. It doesn't have to be £69. It could be £10 penalty that goes to local welfare of children. I don't know, but
like
just an idea.
Club's local charity or something. Yeah.
Yeah, just all
that's fine.
that we all know. We could all nominate a local charity which is close to our heart, like whether that's like Macmillan Cancer or something, and we pay that.
Okay.
Just not.
That's not a bad idea. Quite like that. So we can either take a vote on that, or we can leave it to whoever's going to run the league this year and leave it in their hands.
Do you think we should just vote on the concept of some type of financial
We can. Yeah.
implication of not uploading stats, and then it's that can then it's almost then advisory that the members have advised the league, they are in support of it. We've minuted that, and then the league people who run the league can then kind of decide what that is, because otherwise you're going to end up in a situation where every single league decision has got to be kind of run past this format just for anything to happen.
Yeah, that's fine. So exactly that. Don't nail down what exactly it is, but
the concept, we'd support it. We'd support it. Yeah.
Okay, so if you do support it, hands up.
Yeah, don't support a penalty.
Yeah, Starbridge.
Yeah. Starbridge. The same. At the same time, I'd say if someone comes to Mr. or Mrs. or Miss new chair, man, woman, on a Monday and they're having trouble uploading and they try to get help, then fair enough, take that on a case by case basis and don't just because
sometimes a text.
If they just
keep them updated.
Fair enough. But if they come for help.
It's a good thing to go back to your players and your members and say the league will agree that there will be financial penalties for not uploading stats. So we need to get our act together and let's do an iScore clinic or something, within the club, rather than then everybody go, oh, well, what, I don't want to get involved. It's like, well, it's going to hit your pocket.
Just on that thing you just said about videos and what have you, I did do on the back of when Worcester played Birmingham actually, and went to the home plate meeting before the game. I said hello to Nathan. I said, oh, how are you guys scoring today? So I just got two guys scorebook behind the thing, and I said iScore, and he had the most confused face ever, and I'm like, have you heard of iScore? Like, what's going on? He said, I don't know what that is, and I was just, oh god. So I ended up emailing him or messaging him or something with, I think it's about 10, 11 videos, about 4 or 5 minutes long, of me screen recording the iPad and showing people the very basics of how to score and how to sync it. So I'll reshare those in the group for people to have a look at, just as a very rough guide, and then everybody can make their own notes from it if they want. They're only, like I say, only 4 or 5 minutes long, so people's attention span can.
Believe it or not, I actually filmed a guide to using iScore for the BBF as a video, and it went on YouTube on the BBF channel, and that channel has now been taken down. Don't think many people watched it. There were a lot of, take 2, take 3, take 4 on it.
Yeah. Which is why I did mine in 4 or 5 minutes, because after about 4 or 5 minutes, I was like, what do we do now?
But joking aside, if you go on YouTube now and put like iScore tutorial, there's loads on there now. There wasn't. It was very, very like new at the time. So that's why we did it.
But I'll reshare those, and I'll also okay. Next one.
Luke, on that thing you were talking about the iScore, like we need to incentivize people to actually get on and learn how to score.
Yeah,
we'd all agree with that, right?
Yep.
So what about if the league offered a financial reward for maybe one person from each club to attend the seminar or like the tutorial? So we actually say, if you sit in for this 2-hour or hour and a half session where either myself or Matt or somebody who's really happy with it leads it, the person that actually sits in will pay them. We'll actually pay them to actually learn to score rather than them volunteering the time or something. Again, just an idea, maybe that would incentivize them to go, well, I'll sit there for an hour and a half and get 10 quid.
They sit there for the 3-4 hours every game.
Well, but what we need, talking here, we need people to actually understand it so that they can disseminate the information. Once you've got 1 or 2 people in the club, they can help on again. And like 10 quid out of like what money we've got in the account at the minute is nothing. We're talking 80 quid across the 8 clubs, like as a £10 reward for anybody that wants to sign up for it. That might be or an idea.
Yeah, I think
or some use off the street, just pay them to do it.
There you go, Matt.
Do you want to turn up every Sunday and score a game for us? We'll give you 20.
And I'll pay you 30 quid, and they're like, oh my god, brilliant.
No, hop in my van. I've got some sweets. Yeah.
I reckon I could do kind of kestrel soup around here. I'll find someone.
Give you a few beers as well.
Yeah. Or just something to just like incentivize the people to do it. I don't know, because as soon as I ask for a scorer, like everybody just wants to walk away.
It might be a club level thing to do, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe
because every club needs someone to do it.
Yeah, or maybe the club pay people to do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that's the best way. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so rolling it back to the fee for the year. Obviously, we've sort of committed that we're going to renew the Renew Sports Engine for this season. That's fine. That can come out straight. I can email them in the next few days and get that set up and sorted. Next question, I suppose the same question is, do we keep it at 150? Do we lower it? Do we up it? Thoughts? I'm personally, Worcester, happy to keep it 150. Thoughts from everybody else?
I mean, I'm happy with the 150. I mean, if it comes to it and the league needs more money at some point, it's divided equally, then I think we'd be happy to pitch in. Not a case of that. And obviously just, if there is a big surplus, then just make sure it's used for something that benefits everyone.
Yeah, benefits all the clubs. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need. There's like we're saying, oh, this is going to benefit everyone straight away. Cross that bridge when
True. Yeah. One thing, Luke, you'll probably remember this when we started the league. we knew straight away that we'd have a surplus. But what we wanted to do was have that money to actually help clubs that were like Clifton, just new fledgling clubs. So maybe like put something down in writing for the new chairman to actually impose or implement, whereby a new club can apply to the league for a setup fee. And I think I'm right in saying that what we wanted to do was like maybe give £500 or about that amount of money to a club that wanted to set up, that would help them, you know, get some equipment, find a field. So like maybe like put that officially so people can take the money out of the league account in order to that new club. So that was kind of like what the original was. I'm sure you'll remember that.
Yeah, I remember it was in the pub in Kings Winford. I remember.
But so that money there, like, be accessible to people, and not even just like new clubs. Like, say for example, Leicester wanted to put some dugouts in, or kind of like do some fencing or wherever. Like, I think any club in the league should be able to apply for. Admittedly, we're not like loaded with cash, but like even if it's like a couple of £100, like people should be able to apply for funding, which we know is going to go into long-term investment for the league. And that, I'm sure, you know, Matt would agree that that's like a good use of the money, you know.
Yeah, or if you want to do like a kids tournament, or you know, whatever, because we don't know what's going to come down the line when things get a bit more normal, you know. But
yeah, it's also applying for big grants. Sorry, go on, Sean.
No, just so like representation. I said to Aaron off camera, like, you know, the work that you do with the youth baseball is so like commendable, because of the fact that like that is solely like out of your love for the game. You're not actually playing. I know like your lad plays and stuff, but that kind of stuff, like, you know, so we want to support that. We want to support like the best of baseball. So there's no point in us having like a couple of £1,000 sat in the bank account when we thought, like, I know you've been looking at the UK baseball stuff, like Ruben's been over there, and you know, why wouldn't we like give
Baseball Fives, was it last
year?
year?
Like if we can like support that in some way, it's good PR for our league as well. And you know, we want to do that. The guys in this call this evening, we're all on the same page, aren't we? We just want to grow baseball. We want the sport to flourish, and you know, having money sat in an account is not the way to do it.
No.
Yeah.
So we need to make that to people, whether it's through applications or whatever. So
yeah. So obviously, are we good for 150 again this year then?
yeah,
Hands up.
Yeah, 150 good. We've got enough money.
it certainly doesn't need to be higher, does it?
No.
No.
Cool. Okay. So it is a tick. Next thing was about the. In fact, sorry, 1 second. So next one was Battle for Britain entry, same as the last few years. We've always put as a league a team together, competitive team, more so competitive as opposed to sort of we're going along for the fun of it. We want to put a competitive team out to try and win. Last year, runners up, should have won it. I think MK made a good game of it, but I think we should have had him. But there you go. But this year, I've already messaged what's his name, Chris Carter, about it, and he said he'd sort of reserve us a place, because I said we've got a meeting tonight, and I said I'll drop him a message either tonight or tomorrow, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. That like I said before, I've incorporated a free week for that week. The 14th of August is the Sunday, but it'd be the Saturday and Sunday, I think, 13th and 14th. So we're doing it on sort of the premise as last year. People sort of put their names forward up to a certain date, and then from that date, like I don't mind running it again. If I'm not sure if Mike will want to do it again as well. But if we sort of have a few weeks of, right, this is our
Is that
best.
now at Kent instead of Farnham Park?
Yeah, it's back at Kent. Yeah,
That's a bit further away.
bit more of a bit of a trek for quite a lot of people, actually, to be fair.
Why did they change that, Matt?
Credibility, wouldn't it?
Do you know? Why have they gone-
Well, the short answer was softballers got all the fields at Farnham Park, I think.
I would have thought they'd booked it sort of as soon as they'd agreed it last year. I would have thought they got in straight away with it, but
It don't always work like that. We even had it at the BBF. We're trying to bloody book the national championships and then be told that all the bloody softball fields have been used because they've created the problem by building softball fields inside the baseball field. If they built baseball fields that were separate from softball fields, they wouldn't have this problem. But you know, at the end of the day, they get, you know, a massive multiple of softball bookings versus baseball. So, you know, as a means to an end, it's there then, isn't it? That they feel the end justifies the means. But if you're never going to play any baseball on it, why do they bother making it a baseball facility that you can't play baseball at?
just turn it into more softball fields.
Just get rid of the baseball
yeah.
altogether.
Let's all quit and just do softball clubs, right? Agreed? Yeah, cool. So yeah, like I say, I don't mind sort of heading that up again this year, and I can put out comms later in the year, next couple of months, about organising teams and players and form wisers and all that sort of stuff, Google Sheets and all that sort of stuff. So I don't mind doing that if people are keen to again put a West Mids League team together. Sound good?
What happens to the jerseys from last year? Are they kept by the players?
So if you wanted to buy the jersey, you bought it, it's yours, your number. So obviously each player has their own name and number. And I do have a surplus or like league jerseys.
Yeah, that go back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there top of my head, I think there are 5 off the top of my head in large, XL, medium, or something. So I've got it on a sheet somewhere about what I've got. But depending on number, I think there are, if we limit it to say 15, because if we take 18, sort of inclined to maybe use 18, but I think 15 with a strong preference towards pictures would be a good number. So and same as last couple of years, it is $250 a team this year. So we just split that cost between players, which I think is
So just to confirm, the date is what, 14th and 15th of August, did you say?
13th and 14th.
13th and 14th.
Yeah.
So did you want to vote on entering a team, or are we all in agreement?
Yeah, just we'll do a quick hands up again. Just make sure on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. Tick that one off. Yeah, so 250 divided by the 15 people is 16 and a bit quid each. So that's fine. Cool. Tick. What did I just write down? What I've just thought about, actually, I haven't had a message. Well, I have had a message off Tom and Chris, but they haven't talked about what they're going to do sort of post season next year. So obviously Long Eaton went last year and won the single A. There were talks of him doing, or them doing, like a single A, double A, triple A, NBL sort of
Like a champion of champions thing.
Yeah, exactly. But again, doing it this year, but in a more, I guess, competitive champion of champions. Because I think if any of the teams from last year won it, we would have, any team from the West Mids League would have put up a good fight to win it at Farnham Park last year. So I think this year, I'll drop them a message and just say if it is going ahead, we'd put our team forward as a double A standard. But thoughts on that? Are people keen that if people end up winning, to say Birmingham win the league after the postseason, are we saying, right, the winner of that and then going to this Champions of Champions thing? Do people still want that? Likely, if so, the fixtures I've done would mean the the postseason would end on the 18th of September. So when I talk to Tom, it'll be saying, well, our fixtures officially end on the 18th of September, so our only 3 dates are the 25th of September or beyond. So are people keen for the winners of the league this year to put their names to go forward to that?
The dates line up.
You
might be able to enter two. You might be able to enter 2 teams. You might be able to enter a double A and a single A based on the format we've talked about.
True. Yeah, very true. But no, I haven't had dates off Tom yet. I think last year he started to ask around this time. Obviously, he's got a different role this year. So yeah, I'll message him, because I said I'd message him after this meeting anyway. But I'll just put that in there. I'll say, what's the deal with doing a Champions thing? If it's going ahead, we'll put one forward for a single A and a double A. Does that sound good to people?
Yeah.
Yep. Sean has.
I think, would there be an option to down, Luke, if, for example, I don't know, say Long Eaton won the division and they were unable to go, could we then invite the second place team and the third place team
down? Yeah, that just makes sense. Yeah,
but there'll be a team that wants to play.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool, perfect. Tick. Lovely. Obviously, this would only work, obviously, if it's on the 25th of September, basically. We might be able to chuck it back a week according to the fixtures, but more often than not, it'd have to be the 25th of September. And the weather should still be good by then, because we played well into October last year, so that's fine. So last one, probably the most important one, is who's running the league for next year, this season. I was saying to Eddie, actually, he couldn't make the call tonight, but I had a quick message with him earlier today. I just said to him, sort of, I don't mind giving somebody like a couple of weeks transition period and telling them what to do and or where to look, the forms and documents and folders and stuff. But like I say, the idea was to step down in December. But the idea and the plan right now is to sort of step away from it all. I don't mind, obviously, typing these notes and distributing those notes of this meeting, as well as just doing those little ad hoc things of little bit of sending documents across, fixtures, that sort of thing. But the whole sort of chairman role, I suppose, is no more for me after tonight officially. Because like I say, I need to step back and do my own thing. I need to put my head somewhere else, in all honesty. So was there anybody on this call? So I noted down roles for chairman, treasurer, secretary. Also, we don't have to.
Luke?
Yes.
What about if we just like cycle around everybody that's on the call right now, and they can just have a second or two just to say where they're at and what they think.
Okay. So,
I mean, I've volunteered. So from Wolverhampton's point of view, I think the job that you've done so far today has been exceptional. The fact that you've been chairman of your own baseball club and you've also chaired the league, that's commendable. Really grateful for you doing that. From my point of view, I would happily chair the league, but I don't think I could probably do that and do justice to my baseball club too. So I've spoken to somebody on my committee and I said that should it be a position where I'm not forced to, but take the league chairman role, I would step down as chairman of my club. It's not something I want to do, but in the absence of anybody else doing it, then yes, I will do that. From my point of view, I spoke to Aaron Drew earlier on. I've got a lot of respect for Matt. I know Matt is very involved with the youth baseball. I love all the work that he's done in that respect. Matt has had lots of experience with the BBF.
Not
Matt,
all of it good experience.
no, not at all, Matt. And like,
Yeah.
but you have had that experience, and like, you know, for me, if Matt wanted to be the chairman, I would totally support that from my point of view, because of like the experience. And I genuinely believe, Matt, that you've got like baseball at your heart. And for me, that would be my vote. If I was voting for somebody, I'd vote for Matt. If in the absence of, you know, you not wanting to do it, Matt, and somebody else was wanting to do it, I'll happily take on that role. But that's my personal point of view. You know, me and Matt have gone back a number of years. Like, we've had our disagreements, but over time. But essentially, both Matt and I know that baseball is, you know, where we're at. You know, I love baseball. Matt loves baseball.
We've always mutually respected our differences, so you know that's how it is. Not everybody's going to agree on everything, are they? You know.
So I mean,
it is what it is. I think for me, before I start putting my name in the hat, just personally at the moment, I've gone through a few challenges. So I got promoted at work, and it's just been an absolute nightmare. I've had a load of staff leave, not because of me, but it's just I'm now doing the work of like 5 or 6 people. So that's getting in the way of everything at the moment. And then on the baseball side, as successful the youth has been over the last few years, this off season has been a complete nightmare, trying to get the UK Academy back off the ground. And I had some very difficult conversations with BSUK and the GB program, and you know, ultimately, it's led to me wanting to kind of like just take a year off from youth coaching this year and just ride that out for a bit, because it's just we're pissing in the wind at the moment on youth baseball, for various reasons, and it probably just needs a couple of years of like zero pandemic to get things back, you know, because like the situation in Prague, for example, I mean, you know, we might end up with a whole situation where we've got kids all ready to go on a bloody plane and then told rules have changed or something, you know, or you've tested positive and you can't go or whatever. So it's really, really hard. And that's the international stuff. The club stuff has always been a slog, you know. And then in terms of the club, Brett, who's the chair, he's just started a new job, and like tonight he wanted to be on the call, but he's like working in places like Leeds and Scotland, and you know, and he cannot. So it's almost like I'm kind of covering for him on a lot of things as well. So we're really thinly spread. So whilst even like, you know, people like me, Mike, Brett, what have you, we could all potentially do a reasonable job running a league if we had the like capacity. We just don't have the capacity at the moment. We'd support a chairperson, you know. We could probably attend committee calls and things like that, so it isn't all resting on one person's shoulders. But I don't think either me, Mike, or Brett could take the chair role and then run with it. Well, just maybe next year, maybe a year after or something, but just for baseball and non-baseball reasons, it's
the
option.
other
It's hard, but that's how it is at the moment. It might not change. It might change in the future, but forward looking at the moment,
the other option could be that is you have a just sort of 3 or 4 people with undefined roles or undefined name titles, just those 3 or 4 people running the league in a chat together.
I think you just need a committee. I think that just
I
think the problem you've had, Luke, is the minute you kind of say you're the chair, then everybody then just thinks, you know, you're going to do it all, and you get left behind. Well, you don't get left behind; they leave you to it, you know. And I think maybe given that there's 8 teams, you don't need 8 people in the committee, but you might need 4, you know.
What about this offering? Like, I would be happy to work with you I'm just kind of leaving that there. I'll be happy to.
No, I think if we,
I thought you dropped out.
if we had a, I think we need some level of quorum. So I think you need a minimum of a 4-person committee, and so you've got four guys that can perhaps jump on a call once a month and just go through stuff. And I think that would be a lot less work for any one of those 4 people than if then one of those persons was the chair and kind of in Luke's situation, getting burnt out, juggling other things, you know. So I'd be happy to join a group like that, but we'd have to define it that there has to be like 4 people from
it's
from
equal responsibility. That's what I was getting at. That okay, having a defined
if it's 2,
chairman role,
not much better than
role.
1, then is it? You know, if it's 3, I think 4. Given that there's 8 clubs, I think 4 is fairly. It's covering a reasonably wide level of interests. If you have 2 or 3, you might start making decisions, and then other clubs in the league might then start acting up, saying, "Well," but if you got 4, I think you've got 50% of the league covered on the committee.
And if we did it, admittedly, at the minute we're not like geographically kind of based around, but it probably would work better if we had 2 from the west and 2 from the east.
Yeah,
you know, that might work. So like maybe you and Mike, myself, and I don't know, somebody from Stourbridge or somebody from Telford.
I could probably twist Mike's arm, because he's you know, he is good value. But yeah, I think that might be the better way, because if somebody today walked out the door with the chairman hat on, then what? You know.
Oh yeah. Like taking.
And I think this call has shown that
a lot of baggage.
We all see things in a slightly different way, but we can quickly get to consensus decisions, because nearly everything that we've suggested this evening collectively has been thumbs up. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I think that's doable. I think if we can get two from the east and 2 from the west, I think that's fine.
Cool. I'll make a note of that. So if we'll have a quick vote on that. So the vote is on not having sort of defined roles like a chairman, like a treasurer, like a secretary. It is rather having having a committee of 4 people running the league who make the decisions and are acting on behalf of the 8 teams. Those 4 make the decisions, and those spread across the 8 teams, and that's how it goes. And ideally, we put 2 from west, 2 from east. So yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs down for that. What are our thoughts?
If that, I mean, Luke, the 14 or the 4 representatives, they could then do their own roles, but they don't necessarily need to put what the roles are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So within those 4 people, you would then decide sort of who does what, who's strongest or what, and
Happy.
Yeah, cool. That's fine. Cool.
Well, I'll put my name down. Sean's, if Sean's put his name down, I'll put my name down, and then I think the other 2 we just have to kind of figure out, because obviously not everybody's on the call,
I was going to say, any of the other 4 guys keen to put their name in the hat for that?
I will ask our guys on Sunday.
Okay.
I'm down as my club chairman anyway, so this will be my last call with you guys. But no, that was for those reasons, like Sean said. When you sort of like feel forced into something because no one else is coming. So that's like my reasons. But I'll ask around. Don't know.
Just on the back of obviously stepping down and what have you. I think I said to Sean and Laz earlier, I still don't mind doing the fixture side of things. I don't mind taking that off.
That respect, Luke, would you not take this second West post?
Part of it.
I'd think about it, to be perfectly honest.
What was that again?
I'd think about it. But my initial reaction is no. But I'd think about it. If there were no sort of people going, yeah, I want to do it. Definitely, I want to do it. If there's nobody doing that, maybe. But
Yeah,
I,
but you're
I-
as much as like an active part of managing the league, so it might be that you do not much more than that, other than sit on the meetings.
It's a pretty big part of it, isn't it?
but like I say, if nobody else jumps at the chance to sit on that, then I'll serve as a backup.
Well, let's just put those other 2 slots out in the group, and then
That's fair.
see what comes in. And then I think really what you probably want to do is just to make it as easy and as simple and as not as time consuming and pain in the ass, just have a schedule of meetings.
Yeah.
So if it's like, I don't know, it's been Fridays recently, hasn't it? So if it's like, I don't know, the 3rd Friday of the month, every month, it might only then be a half-hour meeting, an hour meeting. Whereas if you don't do that, and then things build up over time, you just WhatsApp, Slack, and then stuff doesn't happen. And try to keep it going through the regular season, because our club is useless for that. We do like these great things like monthly meetings. As soon as the regular season starts, it's like, hey, baseball started, and then we don't talk.
Yeah.
But that would be my only other suggestion. But what happens on those meetings and what you discuss is down to whatever's going on, really.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going to try and look at is reducing the workload of just that one person. If you just push it onto somebody else, they're going to quit the next year, and it's just keep going like that, won't it?
Yeah, it makes sense to have the 4 and share the responsibility, and because each person in that 4 has their strengths and has their weaknesses. So you can create some super chairman out of the 4. So yeah, I think that's it in terms of stuff I've written down, and sort of I want to discuss, and we've got through a good chunk of that, ticked off a lot of boxes, format, fixtures, that sort of thing. Like I say, I'll reshare the iPad videos. I did the Google Drive link for those. I'll also share the fixtures into the WhatsApp chat as well. And I'll just get your guys' opinions on dates and things like that. And if we can sort of nail that down, I'll just ask for a yes or a no. And at least then we've got at least a draft of fixtures. If there are any bad dates clubs can't do because of field availability, that sort of thing, then absolutely fine. We've got time to move that around. But I'll post those 2 things up. I'll get in touch with Chris Carter about the Battle of Britain thing, saying, yeah, we're good to go for the 14th of August, well, 13th and 14th of August. And then I'll contact Tom about the sort of Champions of Champions end of season thing. Last thing I've just thought of is, so the meeting Tom and Chris wanted this week, obviously didn't go ahead, bit short notice, but he did say to pencil in a meeting for the it was Wednesday the 2nd of February at 8 o'clock. So
Wednesday the what, sorry?
Wednesday the 2nd of Feb.
And what's that meeting for?
So that is, he just wants to discuss I think his exact words were, what can the BBF do for you guys, basically, without being sort of affiliated and that sort of thing. Obviously, I think he's trying to gather us. And so like the SWBL did last year, although they were solely independent, they sort of affiliated to the BBF, so they had access to the national championships and things like that. So that's sort of, I think that's what he's trying to get round, and what can they do for us and vice versa. Whether or not it will be useful, I don't know. But hopefully by then, we'll have some better idea of the 4 guys on the committee. But if you can pencil in the 2nd of Feb at 8 o'clock, that would be great. And I'll just, like I say, type all these notes up and distribute them over the next day or 2. Any other business from any other guys? Any questions? Any thoughts?
Anything for you?
Yes, Bob. Yeah.
Just it's just one thing. It's pedantic, but just on the umpires thing, did we still want to try and get some sort of independent professional umpire guys, ladies, whatever, to do the games. Because we do have Jim Kent's friend who does the softball games down in Farnham, and he's got a group of 5 of them that do those sort of tournaments and things that he said they did one of our games, and they said they'd be sort of loosely keen to do the baseball because they're looking to get more into it. And it just, I mean, it pays them, and I mean, they're just keen to do more of it, I guess.
Yeah. So are they experienced on the baseball side of things, or is it solely the softball?
It's primarily softball. He did one of our games, and we thought it went well. I honestly can't remember who we played against. It might have been Long Eaton. And I'm sure they said he was fine. And I mean, the rules aren't too dissimilar. It's just the pitching style is different is the biggest thing. But yeah, I think overall it went well. So, and if they're keen to do it and keen to learn the rules and adapt to it, then at least we have independent people that will regularly show up to do it. And we're not scrambling to say, you do it.
See, I see the MLB have come up with a solution for their umpire shortage.
What was that?
They've just launched robo umpires, haven't they, for AAA?
It's not-
was that this
Have a blackout and no baseball,
year?
and you don't players. It's sorted.
But yeah, robo umpires are coming to AAA next season.
That should be fun. Can't see that going wrong.
Automated strike zones. But I mean, you know, they've got the tech now, haven't they? Because they do it on TV anyway. Say look, the umpire got that wrong. Look, it went straight there. You know.
We're
So
the same
it's
strike.
fine.
That's the same strike.
We'll be setting up iPhones on tripods in the future.
It's not a bad idea.
And it can score the game for us as well, hopefully.
Same
I
points,
don't know.
Judge.
But yeah, in terms of
Will it eject
umpires,
anybody though?
in terms of umpires, that could be something sort of the first course of action for those 4 guys to arrange some sort of umpires day or umpires weekend where I don't know, guys maybe pay a fee, maybe don't pay a fee, or they come along, maybe the league pays for the umpire's time, outsource somebody, and I don't know, Birmingham might actually be the best place for it because it's central for all 8 clubs. And then we pick a date, a free date in the pre-season, maybe close enough to the opening day, but not too far away, so still fresh in people's heads. So maybe that's something we can work towards, and we pay the umpire leading it or umpires leading it out of the league fund, because that's obviously benefiting all 8 clubs, and put a feeler out for that. So make a note of that to possibly action for those 4 guys. But yeah, anything else for that, or are we signing off for tonight?
Good for me.
Silence. Sounds good. An hour and 40. Smashed it.
Yeah, good meeting, guys.
Yeah, much better.
Bit shorter than the last one.
But actually, ironically, talking about it, there are 3, 6, 7 of us in here, and it's gone a lot quicker than it did have with 10, 12, 14 people in it.
It's because Al Binns is not in the call.
He's got plenty of questions.
Equipment.
What's that, mate? Sorry.
Little bats.
As soon as you start talking, then you're gone, right?
Well, if you talk about things that you can agree on, you're laughing.
Yeah.
Let's not
And to
worry
be fair,
about
a lot-
metal bats.
Yeah, a lot of the things tonight we could all pretty much agree on, which was good. Obviously, the only thing we need to narrow down is the developmental teams in the league and how that's going to be done. But like we talked right at the start, that's one for 6 weeks' time. Don't have to decide that now. Like I said before, we've got the fixtures.
Just confirm, Luke, in terms of like the management or the organisation of the league, are we happy that Matt and myself are looking after, half of it, 2 quarters of that, and we're looking for 2 other people to join us? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
And then I think it'll be up to you 2 guys to then basically take applications, and I can put in the notes that that if you want to basically apply for a West role or an East role, for it to be submitted or signal your intention within a week of the notes going up, something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't want to overcomplicate it and make it sound like officious. So, I mean, I've obviously looked after, very loosely looked after the treasury role of the West Midlands League. So I've got access to that account.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, you don't want to start going around changing bloody signatures on bank accounts every year just because the committee's changed or whatever, you know.
So from that point of view, I'm happy to look after like the treasury role in as much as like a, you know, that sense. I think
So when you start turning up in a new hoodie and on the me.
Florida month, you know.
Yeah, push because he's drinking all our beer.
Balenciaga hoodies and what have you. Yeah.
But in terms of like that kind of thing, like Matt, you know, I think once we've established the 4, or should we call it the core 4, we'll do
fantastic
a little bit of a group chat, and we can kind of like define our own roles between ourselves. You know, obviously stuff that you do with the youth stuff, I'm really keen to like kind of get that going in our league as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, you could kind of.
It's been so hard these last couple of years. Youth is just died on its ass, you know.
But right, we've potentially got 8 teams that could foster 8 youth baseball programs, and currently we've got 1.
Yeah, we had a couple of kids inquire last
You know,
year, and I think we said, you know, the closest is Leicester, which we don't want to have to say. It's just up the road, you know.
So that's like, you know, I obviously work in the schools and system and stuff. So that's something which, you know, that'd be great if you could kind of like head up and do the youth stuff.
It's trying to think of a format that doesn't lead to a situation where you've got a coach at a club putting a lot of time into it and not getting a lot out of it. So like I did baseball 5 for like 8 weeks, and the first couple of weeks went great, but by the time you kind of got like to the week 7, week 8, the numbers were just dropping like flies because the kids just got like fed up with it. So I couldn't help but think, is weekly just too much for a niche sport? Is it more novelty? So therefore, should it be once a month, or, you know, and then the really serious kids can then maybe filter into the adult training or whatever. I don't know. So I was working on something with well, I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, Drew didn't really see eye to eye with my plans. I submitted a baseball development plan for the whole country to Drew, and he just not interested.
Well, maybe it worked for us, you know.
Exactly. So I'm sure, I'm still think there's some good ideas in that, but maybe it's too ambitious to. What I was trying to do was have like a kind of GB academy that goes out to different locations. So you had like one that was in the Midlands, one that was in the North, one that was in the South, you know, one in London, you know, wherever, and they all happen on the same day around the country. And the GB then partners with the clubs, so it's under the GB banner. We use the GB brand to kind of create an image and bring kids in. It's a bit like, you know, Leicester City Football Club do like something like in the community, and it pulls people in because you're using that brand. And he just didn't take the bait really. So it kind of
do you think that's because that was going to take funding away from the?
I don't know. But then so BS UK then wanted to partner with us, and so we did this Team UK Academy that was going to be in different locations. I think one was at Farnham Park, one was in Birmingham, one was in Coventry, and we had to cancel it because we only had like 3 kids in the entire country register. You know,
but like, I mean, what we've looked
at ain't working at the moment. You know, it's got to be bottom up somehow, hasn't it? I guess.
Well, this is what we found, like working in schools, Matt. Like, you know, I teach PE. So years gone by, when I first started teaching, we would say there's a football match, and we'd have 15 kids turn up all the time. If we had netball, rugby, we'd have kids turn up all the time. We're now trying to actively go and recruit these children, even in the school. So we've got a captive audience, but we're still recruiting the kids to come and play for these teams. So the current thing which is working well in schools is the central venue idea, where it is almost like a festival or a tournament concept, where we have one day, so like it takes away from like the weekly thing. So it's one day, maybe a month, where we're doing netball and all the schools come together for one day and everybody gets involved. And then next month it might be, I don't know, rugby.
Yeah.
So like we're still kind of engaging these children, but we're not engaging them on a regular basis. But by the same means, we're not letting them just not experience that sport. So maybe like a central venue baseball thing.
Yeah.
For
Well, we did a lot of week to week stuff, and you know, parents would then not go every week. You know, they would come to some and not others. And whereas I think if you may be doing it slightly less often, maybe monthly or something like that, then they can perhaps plan around it and say, well, we've got to go that month. Otherwise, we're not going to be there until the following month, you know. But miss next week, we'll come the week after, you know. But we were trying to replicate a football model where, you know, the kids are so dedicated, they come every week, and it's just not happened that way over the last few years. I think kids have got so many other options and stuff to do, and then the pandemic's changed it all. So
country, won't it? Like you cannot compete with football because
no, and you shouldn't even try. I mean, but also you can't really compete with cricket because, like, you know, it took me maybe 6-7 years to build up our youth section to get like 50 kids coming every week. But when I took my daughter to her first ever All-Stars session that had never happened in that age group, they had like 45 kids on their first night. And that was in a village cricket club. You know, there was probably 15 of those in the county happening that night, you know, so you can't even compete with cricket, really.
Yeah.
Because people know where the local village cricket club is, you know.
Yeah.
If we had a baseball field in every village, it would be just like it was in America. But we're out of sight, out of mind on so many levels. But we should try and get something going.
Especially like
a good story for the league if we can get something youth orientated going this year when other parts of the country are not.
The success for baseball in the UK will be driven by the children, not the parents, is what you say.
Yeah.
The fact that kids come to like a baseball session and they want to go again next week and they want to go again next week, where a lot of the cricket stuff is like parents put the kids into cricket. The kids might not even enjoy going, but they
enjoy cricket, really. I mean, come on.
Well, not the last 6 weeks. Well, 4 weeks. Yeah, bit of baseball. All right. Well, we're done anyway.
No
that's everything sorted. So notes will come out in the next couple of days. I'll probably share the fixtures straight after the course so everybody can have a good look at it. But yeah, apart from that, always a pleasure, guys. And talk soon.
Thanks for the last couple of years. We appreciate that too.
Cheers, Luke.
Cheers,
Yeah,
boys.
thanks, Luke.
You gift the post, but I hear the Royal Mail struggling at the minute, so not good. All right, bud.
Cheers, guys.
I'll let you know who the new guy is Sunday.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
All right. Cheers, Matt.
Take it easy.
See you
Guys. Yeah.
Cheers,
Have a good weekend.
thank
See you
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.